I'm thrilled to have this man in studio. I've been a big fan of his, and I will stop talking like he's not sitting directly to my right. He is in the new Amazon series available for streaming on Amazon Prime starting tomorrow. I Love Dick, the man who is playing the title character, Kevin Bacon, here on The Rich Eisen Show. Good to see you, sir.
Nice to be seen. Thank you. I learned a new word doing this show, which is titular, meaning so. Catherine Hahn, who's in the show, often refers to me as the titular Dick.
Well, you are, yes, in the title.
Yes.
You're the title character.
Right.
And thus making you titular in that respect.
Yeah.
Now, for me to have said the title of this show,
yes,
we're on a simulcast. So I have just said something that those two guys and my sound man, Mike Del Tufo over there, already know in their head, mark the time that I said the name of the show. And that will now be pulled and used against me.
I'm sure.
Forevermore.
I'm sure. Well, you know, I've been out promoting the show, and you'd be surprised how many people won't say I love Dick. And it's really in this day and age, it's kind of astounding, you know. And also on some other television shows, depending on what time of day they're on the air, some people are forbidden by their producers to actually say it. And for some reason, I think it's okay for me to say it. So I would have often gotten on the show and said, "I love Dick, I love Dick, I love Dick, I love Dick, I love Dick." Let's talk about your new show. What's the name of that show?
Well, they could have gone with "I Love Richard," you know.
Yeah,
it's interesting.
Doesn't have the same ring to it.
That was our. We always said when we were doing Sports Center back in the day, all of us. There was a pitching coach for the Cleveland Indians named Dick Pole. Was his name.
Wow.
And we always thought like that was aggressive. He could have gone by Rich
He could have.
or Richard. You know what I mean? Like, it's a conscious choice.
Good for him.
When I started my career, Kevin, actually, I made out my 3/4-inch tape resume reels to send out to stations, and I made a conscious decision. What was I gonna go with? Richard was the name that was on my birth certificate. And I was called. Would I go Rich or Dick Enberg, Dick Stockton? There have been some great broadcasters.
Great tradition there.
I went with Rich.
Which actually I think was a really good idea because I don't know of a lot of. Are there any sports rich guys? I mean, as in
that's true. I'm thinking about it.
I think you're it. So there you go.
Yeah, that's right. Thank you, Kevin Bacon. I'm glad we worked this out. 20 years I've been thinking if I made the right decision. So you've given me validation. So you are from Philadelphia, correct?
I am. Yeah.
So do you have any allegiance at all to any of the Philadelphia sports teams?
Yeah. I mean, I have a weird relationship in a way with sports. When I grew up in Philadelphia, while we played not really organized sports, played street sports, things like half ball. Are you familiar with that game?
What is that?
You cut a ball in half and you use a broomstick.
Okay.
And we cut what we call a pimple ball in half. And you can actually hit the runner with the ball. And it doesn't go. The reason that you play half ball is because if you play with a regular ball, it goes on the roof or it goes in the gutter.
Right.
You're constantly losing it. So this doesn't really travel quite as far. So we played that. We played football on the street. We played in between the cars and that whole crazy thing. But I wasn't a sports fan because I fell into that kind of like rock and roll category.
Okay.
I really was totally into rock and to girls, and I think sometimes they lined up, but sometimes they didn't. I was more of an artsy type. When I moved to New York, I met a guy who was playing for the Knicks named Ernie Grunfeld.
Oh my gosh!
And I ended up going to games with Ernie's family. I was
when he was playing for the Knicks, not before he was
before he was the
general manager.
Yeah.
Right.
And all of a sudden, I really fell in love with that team and the Garden and the experience. And so there's a lot of Philadelphians who have a lot of bad feelings for me.
Yeah,
but, the strange thing is so I don't really 100% understand. I mean, I can understand it, I guess, if you're formative kind of sports years, but I left home when I was 17. So the amount of time that I've spent in Philadelphia compared to the amount of time I lived in New York, there's really no balance there.
But if I'm not mistaken, having spent some time there, Philly people on occasion will hold a grudge for reasons that are, unbeknownst to any.
Yes. But the other strange thing is that, and this makes probably no sense at all to anybody, but if for instance, the Giants aren't doing well, or the Knicks aren't making the playoffs, and the Sixers were. Did that ever happen? Yeah, no, I know it did.
Yes.
I would immediately then support anyone but Boston or Miami.
So you do.
So I do have a fondness for my hometown, as we like to say.
The hometown. I heard that. So when it all comes down to it, you may not have an allegiance, but you have a conscience, is what you're saying.
I guess that's one way of looking at it.
That's what you're saying.
Yeah.
So Ernie Grunfeld, that's interesting. So you're talking, you started going there late 70s, early 80s? Is that
I guess it would be you'd be early 80s? Early 80s, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, late 70s. Yeah, maybe late 70s.
That was the Bernie and Ernie show. The Bernard King is. Yeah. Bernard King was that was my favorite Nick of all time. I loved Bernard King.
Yeah.
I had a real affinity for watching him play.
Yeah, and that was a great time because then you got into Ewing and Starks and Oakley and Herb Williams.
I couldn't help but noticing in one of your films in which you were the Air Up There, a basketball movie.
Yes,
you played a character named James Jimmy Dolan.
Yeah, I never even. This is the first time I've ever even made that connection.
That had nothing to do at all?
No, not in my mind.
Oh, so you're not friends with him then?
No.
Oh, so I may feel free to trash him in his running of the Knicks?
Yeah. Knock yourself out. Knock yourself out before Charles Oakley does. Or not him, whatever. I don't. I played that character, and one little aside, the great Bob McAdoo was my coach. Fantastic man and brilliant. And I'm not a good athlete at anything, but I'm really terrible at basketball. And all of a sudden I got this part, and it was going to be the coach, but there was going to be some basketball that was going to have to be played. I mean, he kind of steps up and gets into the game, at the end. And, Bob was once quoted as saying, after all those years in the NBA and, coaching, et cetera, that the hardest thing that he ever had to do in his career was make me look like a basketball player.
So there's that. There's that on his resume.
Yep.
Fantastic. Kevin Bacon here on The Rich Eisen Show. I'm going to take a 60-second break, come back, and I'd love to hit your vast filmography and have some questions about some of your films that you've been in. And, of course, we'll talk about the Amazon streaming series.
I Love Dick.
Thank you, sir. Back in 60 seconds on The Rich Eisen Show. Welcome back to The Rich Eisen Show. Thrilled again to have Kevin Bacon, at Kevin Bacon on Twitter, right here on The Rich Eisen Show. So we all know the 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon. You know it obviously very, very well. I'm sure you hear it all the time, and I appreciate you indulging me on the fact that you have now turned it into a charitable money-making venture, correct?
Yeah, a few years ago we put together 6degrees.org. It was one of those things where it just didn't seem to be going away. So,
do you know how it started?
Yeah, I do. I know exactly how it started. It was 3 college kids from Albright College in Pennsylvania. They were sitting around, I believe it was 1995 maybe. Mm-hmm. They were watching one of my movies, and they just came up with the idea, and they started to play it. And, interesting, before social media, but it was an idea that just kind of spread. It was like the first exposure that I had sort of gotten to something that I would be considered viral, because people started telling people and started telling other people, and people would come up to me and they would tell me that their cousin made a game up about me, or that it was played as a drinking game for a while, on college campuses, and it just kind of took off.
And now, what is your charity? It's called?
Yeah, 6degrees.org. we do a lot of connecting celebrities to kind of grassroots charities that wouldn't get any kind of big exposure, and we do things like drop-ins. You know, if I'm on the road, for instance, with a band, we'll just show up and just say thank you to some people that are doing some good work down on the ground.
6degrees.org is how people can get involved in that.
Yeah, check it out.
We've come up with some, if you wouldn't mind, some nicks and how many different degrees they are separated from you.
Okay.
We've got first one up is Carmelo Anthony.
All right.
With Kevin Bacon here. Carmelo Anthony played himself in Eddie Murphy's 2009 comedy Imagine That. And then with an actress named Maren Hinkle, who is also in Rails and Ties, a 2007 drama directed by Allison Eastwood, Clint's daughter, starring you, Kevin Bacon.
That's only 2 degrees.
So that's
Me and Mello.
Carmelo
I had no
Anthony,
idea.
2 degrees separated from.
Hello. Hey. Hey. 2 degree.
You're a 2-degree guy. Here's another one for Kevin Bacon. Patrick Ewing. You wondering how many degrees he might be from you?
I have no idea.
Okay, here we go. Patrick Ewing played the Angel of Death in The Exorcist 3.
He did?
Yes.
I have to get that. Oh, my
He played it with Brad Dourif, who is an excellent actor, as we all know.
Yes.
He played Christian Slater's brother in Murder in the First, 1995 with
Wow.
Kevin Bacon.
Oh, my gosh.
So Patrick Ewing's Bacon number, if you will.
I'm going to walk out of here on a cloud.
Is 2. Got one more for you. Bernard King.
Okay.
He played Hustler in Fast Break, the 1979 legendary Fast Break with Lawrence Fishburne, who played Whitey Powers in Mystic River in 2003 with Kevin Bacon.
Cool.
Would you have guessed that
No.
Carmelo Anthony, Patrick Ewing, and Bernard King?
No.
2 degrees.
No, I would have. But there is a long tradition of people in the NBA making terrible movies. So,
but there are degrees separated from all of that. I got one more for you as well. And this is personal to us here at the Rich Eisen Show. We're going to go in opposite direction.
Okay.
Okay. You starred in Apollo 13, directed by Ron Howard. Ron Howard and Scott Baio starred together on Happy Days. And Mike Del Tufo, our sound man when he was a limo driver, now audio engineer for the Rich Eisen Show, he once drove Liza Minnelli and dropped her off late night at Scott Baio's house in Los Angeles.
I was a cast driver.
So your Del Tufo degree of separation is 3, in case you're wondering.
This is the thing you always got to worry about with drivers. Is that, you know, you just want to go hang out with Scott Baio one night, and right down the road, you know, that just comes back and bites you in the ass. You know what I mean? Nobody's cool. Nobody just keeps it on the down low.
Not on the DL anymore. No, sir. No, sir. I would love to talk with you about a couple of these movies. First up, Animal House. How did you get involved with Animal House? That was your first feature film?
That was my first movie, yeah. One of my first jobs. I mean, I had done some, I guess maybe I'd done some theater, but I was at school. I enrolled into a 2-year program at the Circle in the Square acting school in Manhattan. And they came to the school, the casting director came to the school, which is pretty unusual, and they said, do you have any kids that could play a college freshman? And they sent me over there, and I met with the casting director, and there wasn't much to read. As you know, I don't have a lot of lines, and the thing was like, remain calm, do not panic, remain calm. That's like, but maybe my only line. Oh, thank you, sir, may I have another, is another.
Well, I mean,
those
that's
are my 2 lines.
That's a legendary line right there.
I know, they're 2 good lines. If you're gonna only have 2, they must be good ones. But then they had me back, and I read for the director, John Landis, and next thing you knew, I was on a plane and out to Oregon and having this first incredible movie experience of my life, and of course having no idea that it was not only going to be a successful movie, but a movie that actually kind of, in a way, almost created a genre, you know, of sort of what we would consider kind of gross out comedy, you know what I mean, with heart. You know, it's like that really spurned a whole bunch of really great movies.
And Belushi at the time, was he was Belushi's SNL's
He was
Belushi, right?
Yeah, SNL was a complete obsession, not only of mine but of everybody. Certainly in New York, people would just whatever anybody was doing. This is way before DVRs. Clearly, you would stop what you were doing and you would turn it on in a bar, wherever you were, and just absorb SNL. And John was, part of that incredible group at that time. And so he was flying back and forth from Oregon. He would do about 3 days getting ready for SNL, and then jump on a plane and come out and shoot on Animal House for about 3 days, and jump on a plane and go back. So he was in a really kind of crazy schedule.
Kevin Bacon here on the Rich Eisen Show. What was it like being on set when Nicholson was doing his A Few Good Men finale?
Yeah,
scene?
Incredible, and I'll tell you why. Because it's sometimes it's hard to explain because it all gets cut together. But there's a tremendous amount of coverage, what we call coverage, that goes into making a scene. You got to do a wide shot, close, closer, turn around, close, closer. And in the case of when Jack was doing that scene, we obviously started shooting. They started shooting towards him first, and I think all of us who were off camera were like, "Oh my God, that was fantastic!" From the first time he did it, the second time he did it, just as good. The third time, the fourth time, a closer. Now you have to turn around on Tom Cruise and Demi Moore and myself and the jury and everybody has to react to what he's doing. And it's at this point that some actors, lesser actors, would maybe stop doing quite as much, stop giving quite as much, or maybe go home. I've seen that before.
Go home?
Yeah. Oh, hell yeah. I've seen people that just say, where's the person that you're playing the scene with? They left. They're off camera now. You're going to talk to the script supervisor or talk to somebody's hand or a mark on the wall. Jack just kept doing that scene for 12, 14 hours so that all of us would have something to react to. And it was like I'd been working for a long time when I did that movie, but it was a lesson that I really will always, hold on to. That it's, you're acting the whole thing, and you can't just go home and hope that everybody's gonna just react to it.
Before we talk about your Amazon series, Brockman, read the poll question results to Kevin Bacon on our app that we put up there today. Brockman.
What's your favorite Kevin Bacon movie, Kevin Bacon? Animal House, Footloose, A Few Good Men, Apollo 13, or Diner?
If you had to choose from that group.
Oh, what would I think people would say?
Well, sure. Why don't we do that?
Or just your own. What was your favorite among those five?
What was it again? Animal House?
Animal House, Footloose, A Few Good Men, Apollo 13, or Diner?
Oh, man, those are all. I mean, first off, I don't really go back and look at the movies, so, I mean, that's a hard thing to. I can tell you that all of those were really, really special experiences, and sometimes you can have a really fun time and make a terrible movie, and sometimes you can have the best time of your life and the movie's just garbage. But all of those movies were just a blast to make, and my memories of them is in some ways less of what ended up on the screen and more of the process. Being down in Baltimore with those guys who I just immediately felt all this connection with. Being young guys, hanging out. Nobody was really famous at that point.
Mickey Rourke and
Mickey and
Gutenberg.
Gutenberg and Danny Stern and Tim Daly and Paul Reiser. And then the memories of Apollo 13 and sadly Bill Paxton, who passed recently. The time that we spent, me and Tom Hanks and Bill. We filmed that movie in something called the Vomit Comet, which is an airplane where you create zero G, since you can't really create zero G on Earth. It's a long story, but we ended up you fly over the Gulf of Mexico and the plane climbs and dives and climbs and dives and climbs and dives, and at the point where you go over the top, there's 25 seconds of weightlessness. And we did it as an experiment just to see what it felt like to be weightless. And then Steven Spielberg suggested to Ron that it might be cool to kind of build some of the sets up there. and get some shots up there. And, you know, when you think about it, back then, there was no digital floating, and whatever you wanted to do for weightlessness was going to be harnesses that in front of a green screen, and it's going to be awkward and probably not that easy to get. And we did it over 600 times, and so the kind of bonding that you get when you're from that kind of terror and nausea, you never forget.
And then lastly, in a minute and a half we have left, I Love Dick, the Amazon Studio original series from the creator of Transparent, which is as Emmy decorated as any show that's out there right now. This is a highly anticipated second series from Jill Soloway, and you are the titular character.
Dick.
Yeah. This and what appealed to you and what you think will appeal to fans for this sort of thing, Kevin?
Well, Jill for sure, and Catherine Hahn, who is just absolutely amazing, and Griffin Dunn, who we were speaking about before. The show is funny, sexy. It's a type of show where some things will make you lean in, and some things will make you lean out. But I defy anybody to get to the end of the 8 episodes and not have something to say or not feel something about it. I think it's going to be. It's not like anything you've ever really seen on television.
Well, I'm looking forward to watching the rest of it. Saw the first couple of episodes, and everybody should start streaming it starting tomorrow. You're awesome, man. Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for
really
having me.
appreciate having you here.
That's
Kevin Bacon here on the Rich Eisen Show. We'll wrap up this show and get you set for the weekend and our Friday show in a moment.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.
If you like that, please download our app. There's lots of fun things there other than just more of the videos you just saw. You can call us from the app. You can email us from the app. Just download it. Trust me, you'll enjoy it.